and national champion in his own right in 1994, Brian Gelzheiser. Brian, good to have you with us. How are you doing, sir?
Thanks for having me.
Good.
I'm doing pretty good.
Boy, win today, huh? Kind of needed?
Yes, very much so.
No doubt. Well, we got great linebacker play today. The tradition is continuing, isn't it, with Dan Connor and also Sean Lee?
I love how both of them play. I think both of them are great linebackers, and Dan is he's really coming to his own at middle linebacker.
What do you think the upside is? Which one? I mean, we know Dan is a pretty good player, but that Sean Lee is impressive in his own way.
The thing that amazes me about Sean Lee, if you were to walk into the locker room and see him, you're like, that's not the kid that's out on the field. I mean,
exactly.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he plays like a madman on the field. I mean, and so does Connor. I mean, I really like how both of those guys play.
Brian, now, we all had records once when we were playing here. Now that these guys are starting to surpass our records, that's telling our age a little bit. But how do you feel about Connor, I guess, last week surpassing you on the tackle list?
Well, I think my mom called me and told me. She said she heard it on TV. But I mean, I'm happy for him. I mean, in Puzz, when he did it, and it's a good thing. I mean, we say, they played a lot longer than we did. Yeah. We redshirt.
Yeah, we didn't get those early carries.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Posluszny's now in the National Football League, and here's a guy that, they're trying to replace. I mean, how many places, Brian, can, lose a guy like Paul Posluszny and not feel the pinch? But we got to have you talk, being a former linebacker. This is one of the special players that's been through this program, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you look back and when Blair and Kenny played, I mean, it was like a tailback. When I played, you had Kijana, Mike Archie, Stephen Pitts. I mean, it was just, if one went down, the other one stepped in. And it's good to see that, there's the next great one that keeps on coming. And we're getting back into the Penn State, the linebacker one after another. And it's great to see.
I think that, as we go back and look at the undefeated team in 1994, I still consider it the national champion, and I think rightfully that anybody that played on that team should think that. It was such a prolific offense that the defense kind of got overshadowed a little bit. You were on the field so much because these guys scored about every minute and a half, and bang, okay, out you go again.
And then Kenny would yell at me. You guys can you stop somebody, please? But it was tough. I mean, we would they'd score
again,
then we'd be back out, and then the other team would score. Then we get the ball back, they'd score. But, I mean, I think their average scoring drive was 2 minutes.
It was less than that, actually. It was like a minute and 40, minute and 45. And I think that defense was somewhat underrated simply because, again, you're overshadowed by offense. But that defense that year had to withstand a lot of injuries. They cycled some guys through a little bit. And I just think that defensively, Brian, that team was underrated simply because of injury.
I think if you look at that team when I played, Vinny Stewart had gotten hurt, Chris Mazik was hurt, and we had Brandon Noble, who ended up playing in the NFL for Dallas. We had Brad Chioli, who ended up playing for the Colts, actually wore my number for the Colts. And we had Todd Atkins, who was younger. And if you look at it, I mean, almost every one of those guys went to the NFL.
Yeah, Kim Herring.
Kim Herring, I mean, we had a lot of players that made it to the NFL and did well in the NFL, played many years in the NFL.
And a lot of those guys, too, were the nucleus for a very, very good team the following year in 1995. But it was all about the offense. And, I mean, when you got to practice against, let's go Kijana Carter a little bit, because I thought here's this Rose Bowl run. I remember he said, ran him over, took it to the house.
Exactly.
I mean, when he got there, it was over.
Yeah, the thing about Kijana was you can never tell that he was running that fast. He'd sort of lull you to sleep and then gone.
He's all body.
Yeah.
He's like a knot.
He had the biggest calves I've ever seen.
That's what I'm telling you. When you have an offensive line like that, you gotta love it. And I talk to John all the time, and he's waiting for that back at Penn State to step up and show what he can do. We saw a little bit of that today with possibly an Evan Royster. So it's good to see a guy like Brian who played with Kijana come back, spend some time with the community, cheering the fans on, supporting the program. All those things are very important. I'm glad you get back to see a lot of the games. Yes.
Well, I think the big signature moment, I remember being here in 1994, and it's one of the most perfect performances that you could ever possibly see. The 63-14 win against Ohio State was the ultimate signature, and then you guys drop in the polls. I mean, I really think there was a bias against Penn State. I remember in the Rose Bowl watching a guy voting in his top 25, and he had Penn State third. We were just curious what the heck was on his mind. But there was a lot of bias, I thought, against Penn State, and jealousy about you guys coming in the Big Ten, having a really good year in '93, and then really just kicking everybody around in '94, Brian.
I think in '94 the game was Indiana, and actually the only touchdown that I ever scored was called back on a face mask that wasn't a face mask, and Mike Archie ran back a punt that was called back, and
then
we were winning, and we should have been winning by 30, 35 points. They took us out. I mean, that's the thing about the team in '94. I only played 2 games, 4 quarters. Illinois and Michigan. The rest of the games, halftime came, played the first series of the second half, and we were done.
Yeah, and I remember that game because Tim Clifford, I think, is like Indiana quarterback at the time, goes in on the last play to make it, you know, like a 14-point win or whatever. I mean, there was never any doubt about that. And go ahead.
You know, when you think about it, I didn't realize you didn't play that much. You'd have had a little bit more tackles.
Yeah,
You'd been tougher on the record.
I would have.
It wasn't fair to you, Brian.
Who knew?
we could all say that because there was plenty of games where at a certain time you was on the bench, you wasn't getting any more carries, so you got to get your work in early sometime.
Yes, we welcome in a lot of the former players. Tell everybody what you're doing now, Brian.
I work for an orthopedic company here, it's out of Memphis and Pittsburgh. I sell trauma products, so if you would break a bone, I sell everything to fix it.
Okay, well, it's great, and I hope this isn't the last time. It's great to see you.
Good to see you guys too.